I don't know where I'm going from here, but I promise it won't be boring. Back when I was doing my Becoming Elizabeth vlogs, which felt like it took a very, very long time, I asked round about the halfway point if people wanted me to go and cover the TV series Reign, which is about Mary Queen of Scots as well, and people cheered for it because eventually I had to watch the show anyway, because the gimmick of my channel is that I cover historical people or historical events who have been portrayed on screen many, many, many times, and then I end up comparing who's who and which one's the best one. And as I'm finishing up the Six Wives, I've got 2 more video essays to do about Catherine Parr and Catherine Howard, and eventually I'll just get around to doing a rerun of Anne Boleyn and Catherine of Aragon in my own time. People are asking for other Tudors or other famous queens, and of course one of them is Mary Queen of Scots, because she has so many on-screen counterparts, like almost as many as Elizabeth I, and Elizabeth I has many. That's why I'm saving her for a 100,000 subscriber special, if I ever get that far. But I'm going to make people beg for it. And of course, with Reign being such a long series, I didn't want to be in that situation where people are waiting for me to watch a single series before I can cover it, and waiting to hear what I think about the series. Not like I did with Winds of War, because that took the reason why when I did my Pearl Harbor rankings video, that the video took so long to do is because Winds of War is such a long and harrowing series, just on the content alone. So you're just sitting there and you're just like, you have to like give it at least several days before each episode, and it takes several days to watch a single episode. Yes, so I thought I can watch Reign, and then I can do a vlog for every episode I watch. And then if I do that, if I say watch half a season, do vlogs about each half of the season, and then have them regularly upload over the weeks until I get to the end, then that will at least provide a regular upload schedule for you to keep YouTube happy and keep my subscribers coming back and help my channel grow while I work on the bigger projects. So I thought, yeah, I can do that with Reign, because there are 78 episodes of Reign. Oh my god. And you wonder how much content they can put into 78 episodes, and based on the first 11 episodes alone, I can say a lot. I feel like I've been watching a whole series worth of plot lines in 11 episodes, and that is just the first half of the first series. Oh my gosh. So for every episode I cover, I'll summarise the plot of each episode, and of course I only know what happens in the first 11 episodes. I am only watching that far. I want to go in completely blind. I want to be surprised. Okay, so if people put spoilers down in the comments, I'm not going to be very happy with you. Yeah, so Reign was on the CW between 2013 and 2017. I thought it came out a lot earlier than that. I mean, I never watched a single episode before now. And it stars Adelaide Kane as Mary Queen of Scots. She lives at the French court like for the first 3 seasons, and then I think season 4 she buggers off back to Scotland, and all that Darnley and Bothwell stuff happens. Oof. Yeah, last night I did watch about the first half of the Vanessa Redgrave Mary Queen of Scots, just for a bit of variety in my palette. Oh god, my keyboard is so dusty. Let me have a look at the cast list here, because I want to go through the cast list while I'm here, because obviously all of these vlogs will be about 10 to 20 minutes long each. I'm not doing like a huge massive analysis like I did with Becoming Elizabeth. I'm just going to talk about the plot and how well that was written in certain performances, and at the end of every episode I'm doing like the worst dress award, because the dresses, oh my god, the dresses. So let's have a look at the cast list for Reign. We have Adelaide Kane as Mary Queen of Scots, and for an Australian she does a very convincing English accent. Toby Regbo as Francis II of France. Megan Follows as Catherine de Medici. Torrance Coombs plays Sebastian de Poitiers, and of course my fellow Tudorites will recognise him as Thomas Culpeper from the Tudors. I'm guessing that's why they cast him, because the Tudors ended 3 years ago. Let's get in someone from the Tudors. No, let's get in 2 people from the Tudors to be in our main cast for this first season. So they got Terence Coombs in to play the other half of the love triangle. His name is Sebastian. Everyone calls him Bash in the series.
No, I'll call you Bessie.
Oh, Bessie! And then we have the 4 Marys. So the 4 Marys, they were 4 ladies in waiting from noble families in Scotland, and they all went to serve Mary Queen of Scots from the time she was at the French court round about till her death. 2 of the 4 Marys died before Mary Queen of Scots, and then the other 2 survived her. Just so people could keep track of who's who, they changed the names of the 4 Marys. So instead of Mary Seton, Mary Fleming, Mary Beaton, Mary Livingston, they are now Ailey Seton, Lola Fleming, Greer Beaton and Kenna Livingston. Although I have come up with nicknames for them. I sort of let Kenna off the hook with the naming thing, because Kenna is actually a Scottish name, so she gets away with it. But yes, so Jessica Grant plays Lady Ailey. For reasons relevant to episode 8, I'm going to call her Lady Amy. And then we have Selina Sinden as Lady Germaine Greer, Anna Popplewell as Lady Lola, who I'm going to call Susan, again for obvious reasons, and Caitlin Stacey as Lady Kenna. And Alan Van Sprang, who played Francis Bryan in season 3 of The Tudors, is King Henri II of France. And it took me 2 episodes to realise who he was, because I was like, you're very familiar. Oh. And I was like, oh, Francis Bryan. I didn't recognise you with 2 eyes. Did I mention Megan Follows as Catherine de Medici? She is amazing. She is the best performance. Like, you know how, like, with Becoming Elizabeth, how I said Romola Garai was the best performance in the whole of Becoming Elizabeth, and how I wish the show was about her? Same story here, but with Megan Follows as Catherine de Medici. Like, every time she does an awesome scene, I just want to worship at her feet. Oh, we've also got Rossif Sutherland as Nostradamus, the famous soothsayer of the 16th century French court. And before people will nag at me in the comments for not mentioning it, he is the son of Donald Sutherland, but throughout the entire throughout the entire 11 episodes I've watched, I just thought, he looks so much like Liam Hemsworth. But then I thought, no, that can't be Liam Hemsworth, because he looks too old, and at that point Liam Hemsworth's all in America somewhere filming for the Hunger Games. So yeah, forgot what I was saying. So let's look at the plot of the first episode. So the episode starts with Nostradamus, and he's having a dream about the future. It's like this perfect cold open for a series. He's having a dream, his prediction. He sees a plant, like he sees a tree with white flowers, and as he looks up, blood drops on his face, and he says, "She's coming." And it's 1557, and Mary is at a convent with a lot of other girls, and it reminds me strikingly of the very bad adaptation of the Earthsea series that was supposed to be an adaptation of the Tombs of Atuan. If people don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Dominic Noble's video about it. He talks about the failed Earthsea miniseries. It's awful. I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but this is what this whole convent scene reminds me of. Because, you know, Adelaide Kane even looks like the woman who played Tanar, so it just, like, it fits. So it looks like a lovely, peaceful life out in the country, do-do-do-do-do. And then all of a sudden a nun drops dead because she's been poisoned, because she tasted Mary's food while she was at that convent. And it's that alone that makes the nuns decide, okay, let's go send her back to the French court, where she will be safer. Spoiler alert! So Mary says goodbye to everyone, and one of the first things I noticed about the costumes in the series was this very little waif girl who gives Mary a charm to ward off a ghost in the castle. Her dress looks like something that's come out of the first 10 chapters of Jane Eyre, when she's at Lowood School and she has to wear these horrible uniforms that are too cold for her, and Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you look like you crawled out of Jane Eyre. What are you doing here in the 16th century? And it's all downhill from there in the costume department. Mary arrives at the French court, and they never actually say what the castle's called. They just call it the castle. So it's not the Louvre, it's not the Bastille, it's not any of the other palaces, because like with the English court, there are lots of palaces around the capital that they migrate to every now and then. Well, in English politics, they would transfer between like Richmond and Hampton Court and Greenwich and Whitehall and all that, mostly either due to the politic time that they're in, like we need to be near Whitechapel for the state owning a parliament, or if there's plague, let's all go to Richmond and stay there away from the suffocating air of London, or mostly because they've stayed there so long that the cesspits are full, so they need to go to another palace while that one's cleared out. So they just call this place the castle. It looks like they're on the edge of a massive lake. I mean, I thought it was the sea, but it looks like, I think it's a massive lake. Some establishing shots, I can see the double glazing on the castle windows. Mary arrives along with her 4 ladies, Ailey, Kenna, Lola and Greer. Or again, Amy, Kenna, Susan and Germaine. And they're received at the court, and the reception looks... I'll probably talk a bit more about each of the women as we get to scenes that are more relevant to them. Obviously, I don't think I'll be talking about Amy until episode 8, because she is the most insignificant of the 4 Marys. They get to court and they meet the King Henri II, his wife, Catherine de Medici, their firstborn son, the Dauphin of France, the future King Francois II, and the King's mistress, Diane de Poitiers, and the King's bastard, Sebastian de Poitiers. Sebastian didn't actually exist in real life, so sorry to put a dampener on that. Henri and Diane were together for years and years, but they never had children. She was his mistress until he died, and they never had kids, but they put in a bastard character because Game of Thrones, I guess. For the other episodes, obviously you can see here, these are my notes for episode 2. Obviously I wrote a lot more notes for that, but for this I just said these are all the notes, and mostly it's just me trying to make sense of who's who and what their ages are. And it's mostly me bitching about the dresses, but the main plot is that, of course, Mary arrives at court, and then Francois' sister gets married, and people are talking about, like, so when's Mary going to marry the Dauphin? There's a wedding, and then on the night of the wedding, Mary nearly gets roofied and assaulted in her sleep by a guy called Colin, who is actually the beloved of Susan. So the reason why Mary nearly gets roofied is because Catherine de Medici, the moment Mary arrives, is told by Nostradamus that Mary is going to cause the death of Francois. So Catherine, who clearly has never seen Revenge of the Sith, decides, I must do everything I can to stop the prophecy, not realising that every action you take to stop a prophecy makes the prophecy happen. So the plot of the whole series, I guess, is, well, until Francois dies, is Catherine de Medici trying to stop Mary from marrying Francois. And that's a weird inciting incident, that is, because, I mean, from hindsight, because we know that Francois died of an ear infection, that you can't really blame that on Mary.
What is it? My head. My head. Marie. Help me.
Unless it was Mary's idea to do a thing, which it resulted in Francois getting the fever. So yeah, that is the true Greek tragedy of it all. So Catherine's first attempt to get rid of Mary is that Susan's boyfriend Colin shows up at court, and Susan goes to Catherine de Medici with her boyfriend and says, "Can we get married?" That you shouldn't really be asking her, you should be asking Mary. Mary's your queen, as she will say later in the episode. And Catherine says, "Oh, will you leave me alone with him, my dear?" And in that she forces Colin to give Mary some wine that's been spiked. Trigger warning. So she will sleep through the entire assault, and then she'll wake up with her virtue ruined and she won't be able to marry Francois. But Mary is warned before the wedding not to drink the wine. Who by? Bertha Mason.
We better leave.
You stay here! This is my wife. Your sister, Mason. Look at her. She is mad. So was her mother. So was her grandmother. 3 generations of violent lunacy. I wasn't told about that, was I, Mason?
I know who this character called Clarissa is. This character that is lurking in the secret passageway to the castle, telling people not to do stuff, attacking other people, etc, etc. I do know who she is by episode 11, but I'm still going to call her Bertha. Yeah, so she warns Mary not to drink the wine, and Mary doesn't drink the wine, and then she wakes up as Colin's about to go in, and she screams, and then the guards take him. And to cover her tracks, Catherine has him executed. She has Colin executed. Poor Colin. And Mary realises that the court of France is very dangerous, and she has a friend somewhere in the shadows, and she doesn't know who she is, but she wants to find out. But every time she tries to get closer, they pull away. She's seeing Francois again for the first time in years, and she wants to get close to him because if she's going to marry him, she might as well try to get along with him, but he's a bit reluctant about the whole arranged marriage thing. And luckily that changes later down the line, but and also Bash, or Bassie, I'm going to call him Bassie from now on, fuck it. Bassie has a crush on Mary, and he knows deep down that he can't have her because he's a bastard and she is a queen. And that scene where he brings her dog back to her, and his mother then comes out later. Apparently Diane Poitiers suddenly had a Yorkshire accent in my head, saying, "You don't go after Queen, son. Remember what happened last time? You don't want to be reckless. Don't do out with Queen of Scotland." Yeah, because it's just like, oh, Torrance Coombs is lusting after another queen. He learned nothing, apparently.
I beg you all to pray for me.
You think getting your head chopped off would do the trick? Yeah, so that's pretty much the plot of the first episode, and honestly, there are enough intrigues to make someone want to probably watch further, but obviously if I wasn't deciding to do this for the sake of YouTube and for the sake of monetization, I probably would have stopped watching at the pilot, because it's not that the writing is very melodramatic and pretty dull. I have said that they really are only hung on to the series for so long because of Megan Follows. The question is, who does Megan follow? It made me approach the rest of the series with very low expectations, given what we've seen. Obviously, everything in this is fictional. One of the hugest turn-offs is the dresses. These... I know I've heard the dresses get worse. I do remember hearing that they said they didn't really care about accuracy to Tudor gowns at the time because they didn't think they looked sexy enough. They wanted to keep the girls watching because, oh, little girls don't care about history. And I'm just like I was 14 when I was watching The Other Bling Girl and the Tudors and Anne of 1,000 Days and other stuff on repeat, mostly because of these Tudor or Tudor-esque costumes. I mean, they could have at least kept the silhouette of the costumes accurate and just done whatever they liked. I mean, that's pretty much what the Tudors did. So for the first season, according to Wikipedia, they got any dresses they could out of thrift shops and donations and just threw them on the girls whether they fitted or not. And they are so ugly. I guess they're supposed to be based on the fashion that was relevant at the time of 2013, although I could go and put my prom dress on right now and it would not... I've got my prom dress from 2013, okay? I was going to wear it for a Titanic video that wouldn't let me film in front of the camera because my microphone was being silly. I could go and put that on right now and it would not look as awful as the things that... I'm not going to put my prom dress on right now because I don't have the right bra for it, okay? Basing your costumes for a period piece on the fashions relevant at the time is such a short-sighted hindrance because fashion changes so quickly. So, you know, it's been 10 years almost, and these costumes are not only historically inaccurate, but they're so out of style. I want to vomit every time I see them. There was one scene where obviously the four Marys are being told the decorum and the expectations of them of serving the Queen of Scotland, and Susan is wearing this dress. It looks like a yellow bin bag. I looked at that fabric, it looks so cheap. Look, I can tell the quality of fabric, or the fabric that's meant to be sturdy, that's meant to last, because I'm a dresser. I work backstage on like a ton of theatrical stuff. I've done ballet, I've done panto, I've done actual musical, I've done actual plays. So I can see from a distance what kind of fabrics are cheap as shit and are going to unravel. Like these clothes look like fast fashion. And obviously these costumes, like a lot of these dresses, like they're worn for one scene and then they're tossed away and they're replaced with another equally hideous dress. Yes, and it's for this reason that every episode I'm going to be doing a worst dress award. I'm just going to find the worst dress. I mean, you might not agree with the worst dress award. You might think another dress in the episode is even more hideous. I nearly gave it to Susan's yellow bin bag dress, but I had to give it to this hideous purple dress that Mary wears the day after the wedding, when they're trying to discuss the whole Colin situation, and it looks like it came out of Claire's Accessories in 2002. If that Claire's Accessories was abandoned and covered in dust and it had been affected by damp. It's the fact that they had these misshapen flowers sewn over them. I've seen those misshapen flowers. They were literally on everything in the early 2000s. I remember because I won like an alarm clock in a raffle with those hideous flowers on them. We thought that was trendy at the time. Oh, these dresses are disgusting. So yes, the worst dress award goes to the mouldy purple Claire's Accessories dress. I mean, no offence to Claire's Accessories, but it definitely looks like this whole sort of aesthetic that came out of Claire's Accessories when I was 8 years old. Honestly, they could have had so much fun with, obviously, season 1 budgets and all that, but they could have had a shit ton of fun with the costumes, like making it sort of relevant to each character. I mean, it so wants to be like teen melodrama. Why couldn't you have taken a page out of the Heathers book and assigned each of them, all the 5 of them, a colour? So I'm thinking, red for Mary Queen of Scots, obviously, because she wore the red dress at her execution. It could be like very long foreshadowing. She got the red and passion for Francois. Kenna could wear pink because obviously I didn't mention, but in the plot, she ends up making out with King Henri II of France, Francois' father, and so her storylines are very based on her sexuality, so pink for her, I guess. Well, for Greer, I was thinking green, because she's written to come from a family that has lots of money but no title, so she's mainly at the French court to find an affluent husband with a good position for her sisters, so she could be wearing green to show that she comes from money a lot. Ailey, I'm thinking white, because she's most innocent of the 4 Marys, and of course in episode 8, I won't say what happens in episode 8 in case people are thinking, you know what, I'm going to watch an episode after, like with each vlog, and then, so if you want to know what happens in season 8, in episode 8, then you're just going to have to wait till that vlog, or you can just go and watch the series. And of course Susan, she can wear a lot of black because she loses Colin. She can either wear black or she can wear blue for sadness. Quick note on the Kenna thing about the Kenna kissing Henry II. I didn't actually address that. So what happens is during the wedding scenes, the consummation ceremony happens, and while Mary and her ladies aren't supposed to see it because they're virgins, they're not supposed to see this sort of thing, they go off and watch from the sidelines anyway behind a curtain. After they've had enough of watching, they all scatter, they all run off to different places. Mary goes back to the party to talk to Francois. Kenna goes off to a backstairs and knocks off a crafty one. I don't want to say it on YouTube. She takes pleasure of herself, and while she's doing that, Henri comes up behind her and they start making out, and she realises, oh my god, it's the king, and he says, yeah, and she's like, okay, and they continue making out, and they don't do it, but I think he finishes her off in any this pilot scene got a huge amount of controversy because it showed a woman doing it down there by herself. Obviously this was 2013, obviously we might be a bit more tolerant towards it now, and because it's made by an American studio, it's like the whole idea of a woman enjoying sex so much that she does it to herself is it's just like, it's like, oh lord, my pearls, where are my pearls, I need to clutch my pearls, and all that shit. But apparently they censored that a lot down, although later on in a later episode Kenna is even making jokes about how she enjoys doing that. And yeah, I just thought, well, good for her, because for a lot of the first 11 episodes being about her sexuality, she's never really demonised for enjoying sex, so kudos to the series for trying to show female sexuality in a positive light. So yeah, there's a lot of things being set up. You have Catherine de Medici's rivalry with Mary, you have Bertha / Clarissa living in the walls, you have Francois falling in love with Mary, you have Bassie falling in love with Mary, you have Mary torn between Bassie and Francois, you have Susan building up revenge towards Catherine de Medici for what happened to Colin, you have Kenna falling in love with King Henri II and starting an affair with him, you have Greer trying to look for a man with a title, and Ailey is just Ailey. And that's pretty much all I got to say for the first episode of Reign. It's pretty unremarkable, but I guess someone saw something in it to pick it up and make it into a full series. I'm filming the next vlog after this. So I've watched the first 11 episodes ahead of time, and I'm going to be doing the first 11 vlogs all together, editing them all together at the same time. So there's a regular upload schedule to YouTube, and if you like, you can probably like watch an episode and then watch the vlog and continue onwards with me as I experience this. But of course, if you are impatient, you want to see the vlogs, then on Patreon, patrons who have early access, so Duke and Duchess and King and Queen, they have access to the first 11 episodes already, and hopefully by the time I get to the end of those 11 episodes, then I'll have the next 11 ready. So and then after that, I've got the first half of season 2, which will be, I think, is again 22 or 20 episodes. Yeah, so basically I'm taking each season in halves. Yeah, so I better move on and talk about episode 2 before another thunderstorm breaks out. We're scheduled to have another one soon, and I need more iced tea, my throat's getting dry. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching. Let's go watch the next episode. The next episode is called Snakes in the Garden. We find out more about what happened to Colin. Oh, and I didn't even talk about the pagans in the woods. I'm going to thank my patrons beforehand. So yes, thank you guys for supporting the channel. You can support the channel too by signing up for as little as £1 or $1.50 per creation. And of course the King and Queen patrons, they have the highest tier, so they get a shout out in the credits. So thank you so much to Alison Cuff, Larissa, Lady Eternal, Leslie Williams and Jill Minero. Thank you guys so much, and of course I'm off to go and film the next episode vlog.